Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. Not Born Yesterday is about playing, working, loving, laughing, and enjoying the possibilities and opportunities of later years. I'm Miriam Goodman, your co-host. Not Born Yesterday examines the problems and solutions of growing older today. We bring you the wisdom and voices of experts in the field of aging and offer tips on how to feel your best, use your lifetime skills and experience, and make the coming months and years as fulfilling as possible. Along the way, we hope you will share your thoughts and concerns about being older and let us know how we can help.
Hello, I'm your co-host, Lynn Winter-Gross. Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village SF. Next Village SF is a local nonprofit providing older adults in the Northeast neighborhood of San Francisco with support to help age in place, as well as offering cultural, educational, and social activities that keep people connected and engaged with the community and with each other. Many adults get their identity from the work they've done before they retired. And when they leave the workforce, they often feel at a loss of how to create a new life, a meaningful life, and what should they do with their unscheduled time. If someone suggests volunteering, some people may not really understand what it means. Maybe it's too challenging or too boring.
But studies show that volunteering is good for seniors. According to recent studies by the National Institute of Aging, older adults currently make up more than 35% of volunteers. Many have volunteered throughout their lives, others are just starting to do it. One of the things they found is that volunteering decreases the risk of depression by increasing social interaction. Another is it gives you a sense of purpose. Another is it helps you stay physically and mentally active. And of course, it provides opportunities to learn a new skill.
Our guest today is Bradley Michelson, Director of Business Development at Idealist.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Bradley, there's so many kinds of volunteering. And normally I think of President and Mrs. Carter building houses, or seniors volunteering at food banks, or tutoring school kids. What are some typical examples for seniors who want to be volunteers?
Those are all great examples. I did a little bit of research what is on Idealist currently, and this doesn't represent all types of volunteer opportunities, but certainly a good portion of them, as we're sort of the largest aggregator of volunteer opportunities in the US and actually globally. We just started a partnership with AARP, and I looked at some of the titles of the volunteer positions that were through the AARP. And there's, the types of things that you're talking about with Habitat for Humanity and local food banks. And there's also some that use some of the senior skills from their careers, like small business advising and longer term commitments like getting involved in local government. Or there are some that are just sort of one-off activities like teaching kids how to golf, for example, or meal deliveries, or making cards for people in hospitals. So there's really quite a range of opportunities that are available for seniors.
Do you find that people accept the responsibility of their commitment seriously when they say they're signing up for volunteering, or do they say, oh, maybe I won't go, maybe I will go? I think commitment is really important.
Commitment is extremely important, and there is always a little bit of attrition when it comes to volunteers. I would say that's typically a little bit more with volunteers who have hectic lifestyles. And sometimes seniors have a little bit more time, which makes them a great fit for volunteering because they have more time and they're wise and they will stick to their commitments. And that's why we find seniors actually to be one of the best groups of volunteers. Especially, I see that I'm involved with the city of Stamford in our government, and the commitments that some of the commission members and board members have are actually quite expensive, to the point where it's sometimes 20 to 40 hours a week that is all volunteering. And often seniors are the only ones that can commit to that type of long term volunteer opportunity because they simply have the time and the energy to do that.
It's interesting when you talked about seniors using their talents and experiences from when they were working. Can you say more about examples of that?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way for seniors to sort of not get back into the workforce, but feel like their career, whatever that, was, or however long that was, is still very useful for them now in their retirement, or their senior age. And, one of the most prominent aspects of seniors is that they have wisdom, and wisdom across areas of career, areas of life, areas of travel, all kinds of things. And I think going to the skills that a senior used in their career and teaching those to others is so rewarding, simply because it's, anybody can, not anybody, most people can, volunteer at a food bank or do something that, or deliver meals. But to actually teach someone how to do something can only be done by so many people who have the confidence and the wisdom to do that. And, and that can be from almost any industry. There are really volunteer opportunities and nonprofits that serve most sectors. So there's a good chance that any type of career that a senior had, there's going to be some nonprofit that supports that area, and they can volunteer, and teach others what they knew.
I recently heard of a story where a man decided he would volunteer at a food bank, and he went in there, and after a couple of times he says, you're doing it all wrong here. I'm used to being a manager, and I'm going to show you how to do it better. And he wanted to reorganize how they kept the food and how the deliveries went, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not sure that the paid staff at the place really appreciated that. Have you seen anything like that happen, or people want to come in and take over?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly comes with the territory to some extent. When you are wise and you've had a lot of experience, it's sort of your natural step is to say, and perhaps maybe that experience that you were talking about, the gentleman was a manager, at a company, or had built his own business, for example. So there are certainly, that type of personality that's going to want to help. And there are certainly nonprofits that need exactly that type of support, that they don't necessarily have the vision, or usually they're a little less funded, than what they would like to be. So sometimes that can be very helpful, having the mentality of, let me help you with your business. And of course, sometimes there will be nonprofits that, are pretty set in their ways and, want someone to just sort of come in, help them out as they want, and then move on.
I was thinking my background's in marketing, and how would I find out where I can use those skills in marketing? Or what if my background was in sales or retail? How would I figure out how I'm going to use those, and where can I volunteer?
Well, certainly, and Idealist is only one resource that one can search. There's, I think, something like 70,000 volunteer opportunities on the site. You can also use Google, and using those keywords such as marketing and Idealist, you can search by term and then put it in an issue area if you want to volunteer, for example, in the something to do with the environment. And you also search the word marketing, you'll probably find some volunteer opportunities that are really relevant to that. And that could be, making a pamphlet to advertise a fundraiser that's coming up, or helping a nonprofit with their programs, getting the word out about, the programming that they're doing and the communities that they're supporting.
So what about learning a new skill as a volunteer? Maybe you've always wanted to learn what it's like to be a bookkeeper, or learn what it's like to work with computers, whatever it is. Is volunteering a good way to learn new skills as well?
It certainly is. I did exactly that with the government. I was always sort of interested in, how governments run and function. And I never really wanted to have a career in government, nor did I study really anything to do with government. I studied trade and marketing. And volunteering was sort of my way to be useful in the government, as well as learn about it. And I have this whole new skill set because of my position with the city of Stamford that I never thought I would actually ever have. And volunteering is, it's a great way to explore new skills. You can learn new skills. It's a great way to explore new areas, new interests. You might have spent your entire career in marketing, but maybe you do want to learn something about web development, and there are certainly ways to do that and actually make that a useful experience, as opposed to just going and taking a class and learning something new or exploring something like that. When you have a group of people around you who are also doing the same thing, or you have a nonprofit that's focused on a certain type of program or a certain type of service that they're providing, going to them and learning that new skill and having practice at it is a really great way to do it. It could be all of those things that, I really wanted to do, but never had the time. And, it could be the environment, it could be space, it could be animals. I mean, it could be anything that, they thought they sort of missed out on because, of their career and families or whatever other commitments. And now using volunteering is such a great way to explore that.
Bradley, we've talked a lot on this podcast about ageism and ageism in the community, ageism in the workforce, ageism in the media. What about in the volunteer community and volunteer sector? Is somebody going to say, you're kind of old for this?
I don't think so. And I'm generalizing. And of course, there's always going to be, some of that here and there. But the fact that seniors really have the time and the wisdom and sometimes the money to be involved with volunteering makes them really prime for volunteers. So if there's one place that ageism probably isn't a factor, it is probably volunteering. But of course, we do see that even in the nonprofit sector, we see that with jobs, and seniors, who are still in the workforce are constantly talking about ageism when it comes to interviewing. And, how do they get in front of people, and everyone that's managing them is going to be much younger. And that is a real issue that's happening in today's society. With volunteering, it's really almost the opposite. That if a senior with time and expertise and the willingness to come and volunteer, I think it'll be rare to see that they would be rejected unless they simply just didn't have the skill set.
I have a question about vetting. I'm on the board of a children's museum, and I was kind of surprised to learn that when somebody volunteers to work with the children, we have to do a great deal of background checking. Does this happen a lot in volunteering?
We do see that quite a bit. In New York City, when it comes to children, you have to get a background check and be certified. And that's really to protect, there's so many of these nonprofits are working to serve underrepresented populations. And many of these underrepresented populations, just have struggled more in life than others. So to make sure that if you are providing service to already underrepresented folks, you don't want to be putting them in front of volunteers that haven't been properly vetted.
When I've worked with school kids, I've had to be fingerprinted and get a bunch of health tests as well. So yes, I understand that.
And I think we'll see more of that now with the pandemic still out there, especially, affecting senior populations, that there will probably be a lot more of that going on.
Thank you so much. You've given us so many ideas and tips of how seniors can keep active, make new contacts, learn new skills, plus make a difference in people's lives.
Since we just talked about how many older adults are already volunteering, let's move on to the stereotyping of older adults. We all know that media like television, movies, commercials, and newspapers have a huge impact on readers and audiences of all ages, and they certainly have the ability to sway public opinion. I don't think editors or copywriters intentionally set out to degrade seniors, but the inaccurate and negative images of older people devalue aging, and it gives rise to ageism.
Some recent television programs have tried to make older people interesting and worthwhile, like The Kaminsky Project. Other shows, like Golden Girls, make fun of aging women while trying to be funny. Perhaps because most TV shows are aimed at a younger audience, older characters are either missing from prime time or shown to be a burden, like the father on Frasier. So what's the problem? Even if situations are funny, the perception of older people, they are physically weak, asexual, or out of touch with modern life, and this is dangerous. For example, when's the last time you saw an older woman portrayed as a corporate president on a popular television program, or an older man as open-minded and energetic? Media researcher George Gerbner says those exposed to those shows begin to think of older people as needy and uninteresting, and then the images influence how we think about ourselves.
Commercials are even worse. They often use demeaning stereotypes in humorous situations at the expense of older adults, just in order to sell products. Remember, most creative people in advertising are young, and they share and emphasize their attitudes towards aging and what they create. The result is the continued exaggeration of already harmful images of the elderly population that viewers may accept as true. Although the over 50 and the over 60 population is growing and has more discretionary income to spend, that's the group that's often ignored when it comes to marketing.
So here's the action idea for today. Ageism is wrong. It affects our outlook on life, it makes us feel useless, it separates us from younger people, and makes us feel invisible. When you see it or feel it, tell the person you don't like it.
Write to the companies who make fun of older people in their ads and tell them you won't buy their products and why. Protest whenever you see destructive attitudes. We don't want our parents or ourselves to have to put up with discrimination created by inaccurate portrayals in the media.
That's our podcast for today. Our thanks to Bradley Michelson of Idealist. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds. You can learn more about Next Village SF by going to their website, www.nextvillagessf.org.
And thanks to you for listening. We would love to hear what you want us to discover and discuss. Please contact us at notbornyesterdaypodcast@nextvillagesf.org.
Be well, stay strong, and keep thinking about tomorrow. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.